All right, good morning, everyone. This is our Canvas course site. And oops, for some reason, there we go. That's what happens when you go live. Funny things happen on the screen. Anyway, so this is our Canvas course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through how to navigate around the course and also review the syllabus and the assignments and show you how the modules are set up, which I've worked really hard to try to set it up in a way where each module is really useful for you guys and so that you know where we're at. Now, this is the faculty view, and you can see already, as I was referring to over here, there's a to-do list. That's my to-do list. And I already have 15 surveys to grade and 11 discussions to grade already. So you guys are off to an amazing start. So that's really, really good. But I'm going to change it to student view so that you're looking at what it looks like when you guys are in the course. Now, for some reason, there we go. My mouse is not reacting very quickly this morning. So when you enter into the course, this is the home page. It's always going to land on this page. And a couple of things that I really want to stress about this page. This page has basically 3 different menus on it. And these menus can help you navigate, okay, what assignment is due, where do I go for my learner modules, where do I go for my assignments, etc., etc. And just like you saw on my page, my view with my to-do list on what needs to be graded, on your to-do list is going to show you the upcoming assignments. So if you ever come right here and you want to know, okay, what do I need to do next? The quickest way to get to that is through the to-do list, right? And what I did when I set up the first section of what we're going to be studying this semester, I went ahead and I opened up all the homeworks. All the homeworks are all open now because I know that some students go at a little bit different paces, right? So those students that have already completed, for instance, the discussion, the welcome reading, and the student success survey, you guys might be ready for homework number 1, and you might already be reading chapter 1. So you can go ahead and begin that. So when I open up each section, I will always open up all the homework at the same time, but just realize that the first homework is your shortest time period, because when I open it up, generally you have a week in order to do it for the most part. This first week, it's a little jammed up, but the homework is really like an introduction and a student success survey and a reading that's due this coming Saturday. So you still have time to do it, and it has nothing to do with the actual book yet. So I hope that's helpful. The other thing I like to point out is over here, way over here, underneath the City College logo along here, is you have this calendar option. And when you select the calendar option, it will pull up the calendar and you'll see what is coming due this week. So for instance, this week, by this Saturday, you'll have the discussion in your student survey that's due. Next week is chapter 1. We do get a little jammed up here with this week. That's why I recommend, kind of like, that's why I open it up for those that want to work ahead. And then finally, homework number 4 is going to be due. And also, I believe, of course, I may not have published it yet. I did not. So your exam is going to be due on the 26th as well. You'll see in the syllabus. and I will open up and publish that, so it will show on your, well, I should say I'll publish it. It won't be open. I keep the exam locked until the final week, and because I want you guys to focus on all your homeworks first. So that's the calendar function. And if you go back to the courses. All right, so that's two ways you can quickly look at what your week looks like, your to-do list and the calendar. Now let's look at the rest of this homepage. So also over here on the left-hand side is your menu. Home will always take you to this screen. Announcements, so hopefully you guys got my announcement this morning welcoming you to the class. And by the way, you can set up your Canvas account to send you an email every time I put an announcement up. Because if you don't have that set up, you may not see the announcement until the next time you check in. And I do recommend that students check in to the Canvas site at least 3 times a week, right? Just in case you don't have your alerts set up, then you won't miss any announcements that I might be making. So, so this morning's announcement was to grab your coffee and join me, and also had the meeting Zoom link on there. So you can always go back to the home page and re-navigate if you want to use these icons, or you can just go from the side. So like we went to announcements, and if you don't want to go back to the home page, you can go right to the syllabus. And so this is where I'm going to talk about the syllabus for a moment. And one of the things that I also like about this page, and I'm going to scroll down real quick. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Because along the bottom, what this does is this collects all the assignments that we're going to be working on throughout the entire semester. Now, not all of these are available to you yet, but it does give you kind of an idea of where we're going. And it's just another double check for you. Oops, sorry, went too fast. It does give you another double check on, where you are. A common question I get from students, especially if they're new to Canvas or they've only used Canvas a little bit, is, I want to make sure I don't miss anything, or, how will I know, right? And so right now I've showed you 3 different ways, right? The to-do list, the calendar, and now we're looking at the course summary at the bottom of the syllabus page. Now, when it comes to the syllabus, this page is really kind of just a very general overview of certain things that I've pulled out of the syllabus. For instance, what's the course description, the course format, the learning outcome, and then, of course, talking about the textbook, which I'm going to talk about very shortly as well. But if you want the main syllabus, there's 2 ways you can get to that. From this page, you can literally click this link right here. I have it set up, and it will take you to the syllabus module where you can look at the syllabus directly. And of course, this is the detailed syllabus. There is, on one of the homeworks, a question about the syllabus that will let me know whether or not you've read the syllabus. So it's really important that you read the syllabus, so that because it gives really good information on what to expect in class, and a tentative schedule. And I do want to stress tentative, because sometimes there might be an unforeseen situation that happens. And so something in the schedule might have to change. And so, for instance, let's say, there's going to be an unintended not holding of class. Like I'm going to miss one of the classes because maybe I get sick or something. That would be an example of a change that might have to be made. Or if, God forbid something happens and my internet goes out, and we're not able to have class. Or if your internet, by the way, I'm going to talk about this here for a second. If your internet goes out, um, don't worry, just reach out to me. Let me know that that happened. My lectures are recorded so that anything that you've missed, you don't have to watch the whole lecture. You can just go to select that lecture and fast forward to the part that you missed, and you can catch up that way. So all of my lectures are always available for you. Um, all right, but the schedule is tentative. Now, I've been teaching this particular course for a while using this book, so I'm fairly confident in the schedule that I have this semester. Usually, there's only minor changes, which really doesn't affect a lot of people, so that's a good thing. Um, So here you have semester deadlines that are important dates that are key. So for instance, February 11th, which is a week from this coming Friday, is the last day to process any ad codes, pay for the class. It's also the last day to drop if you do not want a W. And I generally will send out an announcement just to remind students. And here's why I do that. I hope nobody drops the class, but I understand life happens. We get busy. We got to do what we got to do, right? Or sometimes students will have taken 16 units and they're going, oh my gosh, this is just, I bit off more than I can chew. I need to drop something. Totally understandable. Just make sure that you do that before the deadline, because then there's no impact whatsoever to your academic standing, right? If you do it after the deadline, then you get a W. And one W, which stands for withdrawal, one W on your record, two W's, probably not that big a deal. But if you don't want that, just make sure you mark that deadline. And then the withdrawal deadline is another important thing that I will generally send out a reminder for. Sometimes things happen in students' lives, and and this happens every semester. I have some students that something happens, and that takes their attention away from their academics, and maybe they're not doing so well. The withdrawal deadline is there to protect the students. Earlier, I said, you don't want a whole bunch of W's on your record, but I will say this: it's better to get a W than an F. Although if you get an F, you can always retake the course and make up that grade. But that's just extra work. So if you just think that that you might not, as we get deeper in and something happens and you need to withdraw, make sure you withdraw before the deadline. Because if you don't, unfortunately, I have to give a grade after the withdrawal deadline. And so even if you're not attending class anymore, you'll get a grade for it. So, and I don't like, putting Fs on the grade sheets. I really, really don't like that. So, I always want to work with students when it comes to that. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to working with students is, you'll see up here, I have office hours. Now, generally my office hours are Monday afternoons from 4:15 to 5:15, and also Thursday mornings, like this morning, although I have a doctor's appointment, so I will not be holding office hours. I'm going to be leaving right after class. But generally I have office hours during that time. What I would really appreciate is people giving me a heads up, letting me know that they need office hours. And the other thing I will tell you is that because I really want to help students succeed, that I have been known to hold office hours on a Saturday afternoon. Like, I'm required to put specific office hours on here. Um, uh, and to offer those office hours. But I can offer office hours by appointment anytime that's mutually beneficial to both of us. So I've done Saturday office hours with students. And I share that with you because I want you to know that I really want to help you succeed. And I also recognize that these 2 hours may not fit in your schedule, right? So some people will leave from class and go right to work and they can't stay, or they're working on Monday evening and they can't come to my other office hours. So just please email me, tell me that you need office hours, give me your schedule, and I will look at my schedule and we will set up at a time to meet. Generally, most of the time, students are meeting about like the paper. I'm more than happy to help students, meet with them and answer questions on the paper that we're going to do this semester, or if anything else comes up. Generally, it's about the paper. Sometimes it's about some of the homework assignments or questions or something that they didn't understand, and they keep getting wrong, and they want some help with that. So just know that I am available. I am available outside of class, even though we're in this remote Zoom environment. I also recognize that this environment is not the most stimulating. So I really do try to, as classes go on, do breakout sessions. We're going to do one today to kind of practice it, see how you, uh, for those that may not have done a Zoom breakout room, but we'll have discussions in the semester and things like that. So where you guys will get to talk with each other and stop listening to me. So let me see, I want to get to, so contacting me is really important. Now, the best way to reach me is by email. And one of the things that I do ask is to give me at least 24 hours, even as long as 48 hours, to respond back to your email. Generally, I am pretty quick, but there are times where my work schedule with mental health systems kind of prohibits my quicker reactions. So generally, I will respond to emails in the evenings. So if it's an emergency, just realize I may not be able to get to you very quickly. And this is where I also want to talk about being proactive rather than reactive. So if you're running into some situations with your assignments, it's better to reach out to me beforehand and let's see what we can work out, than it is to miss an assignment and then come and tell me, oh, well, hey, Richard, I missed this because this was what going on. It's harder for me to help you if we're in a reaction phase as opposed to a proactive planning phase where we can work something out. So I hope that makes sense. And let's see here. Also in the syllabus, it talks about how grading will be done. Now in this class, I will tell you a point is a point is a point is a point. So the idea here is that you want to be accumulating points. One of the easiest ways to accumulate points, honestly, is simply by showing up to class. Because what I do is, I give participation points while in class. So people that are engaged in the breakout sessions, people that are asking questions, people that are, and I have 2 screens going. So as I'm doing my lecture, I can also look over here to the side and see. And then during the breakout sessions, I actually will bounce around from room to room to room to check in with people. And if you're here, chances are you're getting your participation points. If you show up for class prepared for the discussion, right? I'm going to know and you're going to get your participation points. If you're not here, if you miss class, obviously there can't be any participation points that are given for missing class. But you're here, you show up, and I can see you're engaged, then you'll get your points for the day. Easy points. The other points come from like homeworks. So there's going to be a total of 16 homework assignments this semester, 1 for each chapter. There are only going to be, I say only, students are out there going, what do you mean only 4? There are 4 exams. And I'll talk about the exams here in a moment. There are going to be 4 discussions that we're going to do throughout the semester, which I hope you guys will find is fun. And also to enhance your learning. There's going to be 1 research paper. It's actually going to be a reaction paper because I want to teach you guys about APA formatting, and I want to teach you guys about peer-reviewed journal articles, right? Where research and studies come from. And so there'll be that. So there's a total of 800 points that can be accumulated during this semester. Now, with grading, students are responsible for tracking their own grades. What's really nice about Canvas is that, you know, your grades are pretty much, except for things that I have to manually grade, for instance, such as like the research paper. But most other ones, you know, the system grades it. If you turn it in late, the system, I've already set it up so that there will be penalty points for that. So please try to turn things in on time. But my point is you're gonna know your grades right off the bat. And if there's any question, please just email me and say, hey, I have a question about my grades. Send me a schedule because I can't talk about grades via email. That's against school policy because email is not considered confidential. And so we will set up an appointment, you know, to have a Zoom appointment to talk about grades or see what we can do about planning if you need to, you know, some help there. The next section here talks about the Canvas Learning Portal, which is what we're in. It tells you how to log in. There's also a toll-free number if you're having trouble. Unfortunately, if you're having trouble, you know, technically in Canvas, there's not a whole lot that I can do. I'm going to have to direct you to the Canvas support so that you can get the proper help, because I may mislead you and I don't want to do that. So and then the next section talks about homework assignments. So let's go down here because let's see. I do want to talk about exams. Hold on one second. Okay. So the exams are generally not cumulative. So for instance, this first section that we're going to start on, starting, you know, at the beginning or the end of today's class and moving into next week's class, chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 are one section of this course. And at the end of that, there will be an exam, and it will only be on chapters 1 through 4. Then the next section is going to be chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that next section is on the exam is only going to be on those chapters, right? And so on throughout the semester. So the exams are not cumulative. However, I will give you a little bit of a caveat to that. There are a lot of common themes, for instance, nature versus nurture, that will show up in each section. So you may have a nature versus nurture question in chapter 1, in the exam 1, and you may see a similar nature versus nurture question in exam 2. And that's because we talked about it in the first section and we talked about it again in the second section. And it's going to be specific to those sections. So you will see some common themes that will show up throughout the exams, but generally the exams are only on the section that we covered. I also provide exam review guides that you guys can use that will open up during the last week to help with your studies, the last week of the section that will help with your studies. And so you'll have that available as well. Now, when it comes to missed exams, if you miss an exam, there are no makeups, not without having a really, really good reason that I believe. I'll just be honest with you. So the final decision on whether or not I issue a makeup exam is solely mine. So if you think you're going to have, I'll give you an example. So sometimes students will have vacation planned already. Oh, I'm going to be out of town. Okay, that's fine. We're being proactive. You can take the exam early, and I'll set it up so that you can take the exam early. But after the fact, there's very little that I can do to help students, right? So just be mindful of that. The exams, because they're done on Canvas, you want to make sure that you have a very good internet connection and that you have enough time to complete the exam. So the exams are usually available for 3 full days. So you can go in and take the exam at any point during that 3-day period. But once you start the exam, you have to complete it all in one sitting. Okay, so so there's that. So I've kind of talked a lot for a second, so I want to stop and see if there are any questions on exams, homework, anything I've talked about on the syllabus so far. And you may either raise your hand or type in the chat. So remember, if you type in the chat, your voice will not be on YouTube. If you raise your hand, your voice will be on YouTube. Very good. And I see a chat. So let's look and see what the question is. All right. So no questions. I think I'm good. All right. All right. Now, if anything comes up later on, oh, I should have asked that question. Again, please just type it in the chat. All right, let's see here. So late work is generally not accepted, although, and really what I'm talking about there is like with exams and stuff like that. I have set the Canvas to accept late work, but it's going to flag it as late, and you will lose points. So I will accept late work on the homework assignments because I really want you to do the homework so that you can learn from it. It also prepares you for the exams. They're great study guides. Similar questions that you see in the homework, you'll see on the exams. Sometimes it's the exact same question. Sometimes it's a similarly worded question. The other thing I want to talk about with the exams too is the exams are 80 questions in length. So there's lots of questions. But I build the exams out of a bank of about 120 questions. And the reason why I do that is because then the questions are randomly pulled. And so no two students will see the exact same questions in the exact same order at any time. So because I have to do this remotely, and this kind of moves into the next section of the exam when it comes to the cheating and plagiarism policy, which I don't really like to talk about. Most of my students are really, really, really good and show honesty and academic integrity, but I'm just letting you know how the exams work. So the exams are set up so that questions are randomly pulled. Even answers within the questions are shuffled. So no two students will see the exact same exam, but all of the exam questions come from the section that we're completing. So you've all been exposed to it, even if the question is slightly different, because I'm measuring concepts, and I hope that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions on that? And the question, I'm sorry, and the exams are timed and have to be completed in one session. The homework is not timed, and the homework can be completed in multiple sessions. So let's say you start on chapter 1 homework, right? And you get through 10 questions and you need to take a break. You can log off and then come back to it and continue on with your homework assignment. Homework assignments are also open book, open note. So anything that I've presented in lecture is fair game. You can be reading the book and answering the questions as you go along. I have no problem with that. Also, homework assignments, you have more than one opportunity to do the homework. So let's say you do the homework and you're like, oh man, I misread that question. I knew that answer. I let people go back in and update their homework, okay? So that you can get the best grade possible. And it really also helps you study, right? So when it comes to the homework, I allow that. Exams, however, nope. Um, you get one shot at it, right? Because it's an exam. It's a test. So I have to have some boundaries around the exams. Okay, and I see 4 chats. Uh, okay, so the exam question takes how long? I think I give it 100 minutes, or it's 90 minutes with a 10-minute cooldown. I forget exactly how I have it set, but it's basically roughly about a half a class period. Um, and let's see. I didn't get well about 80 questions. Oh, okay. So let me explain. So the exam you will see will have 80 questions on it. What I do in the background is I actually create an exam with 120 questions, but I tell the system to only show 80, and I tell the system to show them randomly. So that's how I make it so that no 2 students see the exact same exam. So did that answer your question? Maybe you're typing. Okay, well, I'm going to move on. If that did not answer your question, I'll come. Okay, great. Yeah. So sorry if I did not make that clear. Basically, the idea here is what I have to do is protect the integrity of the exam, and to make it as, you know, um, cheat resistant as possible. And again, I don't like talking about cheating because, I know you guys are awesome students. So um, if anybody has any questions on cheating or plagiarism, I do want to say something about plagiarism, because this is something that people sometimes do not know. If you reuse a paper that you have written for another class, that's considered cheating and it's considered plagiarism. So if you recycle papers and then you get caught doing that, you can get an F on that assignment. So uh, please don't do that. Now, if you studied something in a different class and you really want to carry on that study, or you want to learn more about it and maybe take some information from your paper, I don't have a problem with that under 2 conditions. And these are the 2 conditions. 1, email me and let me know so that we can have a conversation about it. And 2, you're going to have to cite yourself. So if I give you permission to use your previous work, you're also going to have to create a citation and list it on your reference list so that the plagiarism and the academic integrity is maintained. So anytime you're using your own work from a previous thing, you have to cite yourself. And you'll see that when I share with you and teach you about peer-reviewed journal articles. A researcher may have done 3 different experiments before this current one, and you will see in their reference page where they cite themselves because they are telling the reader where this information comes from. So you always have to tell the reader of your research paper, where is it that you got this information? So, and I see a chat, which means there's a question. Hold on one second. Are the videos important to watch as well as the reading the chapter before completing the homework quizzes? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. I post the videos. Generally, I will show most of what's posted in class, and we will have a discussion about it. So anything that we have that was shown in class or had a discussion about is fair game for both the homework and for exams. So that's how I'll answer that question. Other videos that I put in there mainly to help students who need maybe a little bit extra on learning about a different concept. For instance, in chapter 3, when we talk about biopsychology, and I will talk about how the brain works, how neurotransmission works. You're going to learn about uptake, reuptake. You're going to learn about receptor sites. You're going to learn about action potential. There's lots of things you're going to learn about that the lecture alone may not be enough. And so what I like to do is I like to put videos up there that actually demonstrate some of the concepts. So some videos will be on your own time if you want to look at them. The others may be shown in class. And to answer the question, the exam is actually multiple choice. So multiple choice or true false kind of questions. There are no fill in the blanks on the exam. So that may put some people's mind at ease. And when we're in the memory chapter, chapter 8, you'll understand that what I'm doing is I am testing your recognition memory for the exam. So, and we'll talk about recognition memory and things like that. So, all right. Any other questions? All right, very good. Let's see here. Okay, hold on one second, sorry. My mouse is acting funny. Okay. Student grievance policy. Hopefully, we will not have any grievances. However, every once in a while, a student may not be satisfied with something that happens in class. What I have noticed over the years, and I've really only had one person actually have to follow this policy, and it ended up that when we had the discussion that it was really just a misunderstanding. And so 9.5% of the time out of 10, generally what happens, it's a misunderstanding, and we can generally work it out in office hours. So if you have something that you are concerned about, please bring it to me, and we will have a discussion about it. And like I said, 9.5 times out of 10, we're going to be able to work something out. If we're not able to work it out, then the next thing that you would do is go talk to the behavioral sciences department chair, or actually co-chairperson, Dr. Kim Sweeney. She's really awesome. You would like her if you haven't met her already. To make an appointment, and her email is posted here in the syllabus. And if after talking to me and then talking to her, you're still not satisfied, then you should contact Dr. Mashiro Ome. He is the dean. It says acting dean. I actually need to correct that. He is now officially the dean of the School of Behavioral Sciences, and he's in the they'll probably do it by Zoom, but just so you know his physical location, he's in the MS building on the 5th floor, all the way at the end. So that's where the dean's office is. So you'd make an appointment with him to discuss the situation. Now, if you have a grievance and you don't come to me and you go right to the dean is going to send you back to me, because they're going to say, hey, have you talked to Richard? Have you talked to Dr. Sweeney? If your answer is no, they're going to send you, they're not even going to keep the appointment. They're going to send you back to talk to me. So you have to go through this process. Let's, give me a chance to help us resolve the situation before going forward. So, and like I said, I've only had one student in 5 years, have a grievance. And when we finally sat down and talked about it, it really was a misunderstanding. And it was like, hey, we're done. We're good. So, any questions on that? I don't see any in the chat. And I don't see any raised hands. All right, very good. All right. So students who are experiencing, disability or need accommodations, please send me via email your letter so that I have it. And yeah, we'll work all of that out. Send it to me as soon as possible so that in Canvas I can do different settings and things like that to help students out. And then the other thing I want to talk about here too is I'm a mandated reporter. So as a therapist in the state of California, I am a mandated reporter. And generally that means that I have a duty to protect, and I have a duty to protect, to warn others if someone is in danger of being harmed by someone else, if someone is in danger of harming themselves, if there are any dependent adults, in other words, any adult between the ages of 18 and above that are unable to care for themselves or need care and they're being abused, and I have information on that, I cannot keep that a secret. I have to report that. And it's the same thing with elder abuse. Also under Title IX, in the classroom itself, I need to report any gender-based discriminations or harassment, any sex-based issues that come up, anything regarding national origin, religion, age, gender identity, gender expression, and race, ethnicity, color, any of this information, right? My classroom is a safe classroom, and it is open to all. We are human beings, and we need to treat each other with respect, and that is, that is a firm boundary of mine. And and also it's a requirement that I report any issues like this. I have never had an issue, so in any of my classes, and I don't anticipate that this semester, but I just, I have to talk about that. So, and then the last thing I want to talk about before we just take another quick look at the schedule for the semester is student ed plan. So I highly encourage people to get an education plan if you don't already. I will tell you, earlier I shared when I told you a little bit about myself that I am an alumnus of San Diego City College. And when I first started at school, I thought, oh, I'm just going to get my AODS certificate. And I just started taking classes. And I really didn't, get an education plan. And then I decided, well, no, I don't want just the certificate. I want to get the AS degree and then, go on to a four-year university. And then I decided, maybe I should create an ed plan. And what I found out was some of the classes that I took, I didn't need to take. So I actually ended up taking more stuff than I needed to, which is investment in time and money, right? So having that ed plan helps you take the classes that you need to take to accomplish your goals without taking anything any extra. Of course, if you want to take something extra, by all means. But if you're on a timetable, you might not want to stick an extra class in there that you really don't need, that's not going to support your goal. So education plan really helps out with that. The other thing about an education plan is students that do not have an education plan, they lose priority enrollment status. So, when enrollment windows open up, it's going to open up sooner for those students that have an ed plan than it is for those that do not. So right there, that alone, hopefully will encourage you to get an ed plan if you do not have one. Otherwise, you're always going to be sitting on somebody's wait list and hoping for an ad code to get in if the class is full. And generally, my classes are always full. So, Yeah, so I generally have a wait list. This semester I don't have a wait list, but that's all good. All right. And then you'll see here is the tentative schedule. And again, I stress the word tentative because it's subject to change in case something happens. Although as of right now, it appears that everything will be right on time. And you'll see your first exam is due at the end of this month. So we do move through the chapters rather quickly. So just be aware of that. We're basically doing a chapter a week. This is a survey course, so we cover a wide range of things that show up in psychology. And as the result of that, we kind of move kind of quickly through it. So I just want to encourage you guys, like I said earlier, make sure you log into Canvas at least 3 times per week, not including the class time, so that you kind of know where you're at and don't fall behind. But like I said, if something happens, let's be proactive. Meet me in office hours, and we'll go from there. All right. Are there any questions on the syllabus? All right. So you may have forgotten how we got to the syllabus. So I'm going to back up to where we were. We got to the syllabus by hitting this syllabus button here, which gives you the syllabus, course syllabus page, but also that direct link to the syllabus module. You'll also notice that it takes you directly to all the other modules. So that's a way that you can get to the modules. But I'm going to go back to our home page just for navigation's sake to reorient people. And I'm going to show you, because we're going to talk about the modules next. And so let me check time here. Okay. I'm going to talk about the modules, and then I'm going to send you guys on break. Then we'll come back and we'll finish up with this. And then we'll do some introductions and possibly start into chapter 1 this morning. But there are several ways you can get to the modules, right? So one way was through the syllabus. That's kind of a long way. Most people aren't going to do that. The other way is there's a module menu item over here on the left side. And then there's also the learner module button here that you can push. So either one of these will take you to the modules. The other thing I did forget to show you here is the course overview, which basically is the same thing as that syllabus page. So there's 2 ways to get to the syllabus page. And then back to the home page. This also takes you to me and just, tells you a little bit about me, talks about what my credentials are. Those are all the letters that I have after my name that I've earned, and office hours, and just a personal biography, and a really good picture of me when I looked better than I do now. All right, so back to the home page and modules. All right, so learner modules you can select, or you can select modules from here. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to select the learner module button. And a little trick that I want to show you guys, because you'll see that when the modules are all open, there's a lot there. And right now I'm only showing 4 modules. A little bit later on in this section, I will actually open up the next section. But as you can see, because of how big the modules are, so like this is chapter 1, Intro to Psychology. This is where we're at this week. You can see it's really a big module. And by the time we get to chapter 16, if you're scrolling through all of these, it's going to take you forever. So I'm going to show you a little trick. So if you want to just go to a particular module, what I do is when I'm working in Canvas is you'll see this collapse all button, which is up here at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. My cursor is kind of circling it. And if you select it, it's going to shrink down it's going to close all the modules. So if I want to go right to chapter 4 module, it's easier for me to get to it, right? Because I can see it easier and I don't have to scroll through all of that stuff, right? So that's just a little trick that I like to show students to make their navigation a little easier. You can also close that module when you're done with it. All right, but I'm going to come back up to the top. We've already talked about the syllabus module. This is where the welcome to our class page is. This is where the syllabus is that I showed you earlier. And also the spring calendar is here. And the spring calendar is just a quick link that shows you the same deadlines that are in the syllabus, but sometimes students they don't want to go through the syllabus to figure out where it's at. So I post this so you can go right to here if you want to know what deadlines are. But going back to the modules, we're done with that, so I'm going to close it. Then the next module is how to get into this class, right? So I emailed everyone, and a lot of people are here, so I'm assuming everyone got that. But if you can get into your Canvas, you can also get into this Zoom class. And there's also a Zoom quick start guide for those that might need that as well. And then getting started, this is where you'll see the page that I created that's about me, getting started with Canvas, and also being successful in this course. Now, this I'm going to pull up for a second because I do want to talk about that. The idea of, oh, I can do that later. I want to caution you guys that, sometimes, since a lot of the stuff we're doing is, you're submitting through Canvas, your reading is online, unless you want to buy the book, and I'll talk about that in a minute. It's really easy to put stuff off, and then you find out, oh, wait, now I've got 3 homework assignments and I don't have enough time to do that. So, this is what I was talking about earlier. I recommend people log in at least 3 times per week, other than class time, to see where they're at, make sure they're keeping up on things. Use your Canvas calendar. You can create alerts that will go to your phone or your email. And there are tutorials for Canvas that will show you how to do that. Let's just keep up with the work there. That's what that page is about. All right, now in here, I've put in the research paper instructions. I am going to talk about that in a little bit more detail, probably in about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, probably after the first exam, which means that particular lecture is will be supplanted by the research paper instructions. And so you'll have to watch that week's lecture via video. Because obviously we just don't have enough time in that class period to do both. But I also have a video lecture that I did from last semester that I recorded that's already there. If you want to go ahead and watch it in advance. But it's also there in case you're not able to attend that particular lecture that I do that day. So you'll have a whole paper on how to what's expected, right? So, and really the first assignment regarding your excuse me, regarding this paper isn't really due until March 11th, and that's just submitting a peer-reviewed journal article of your choice for me to look at and approve and say, yes, you can write your paper on this topic. And that will be explained more detail. And the reason why is because I want you to pull a particular type of article. It has to be peer-reviewed. It has to be an experiment or a study, something to do with research, because I want you to know what those things look like. And so I'm very particular on the articles. So you have to upload that, you have to show it to me, I approve it, and then you write your paper based on what I approve. And then a month later is when your paper is actually going to be due. So your paper is due April the 8th. So, well, plenty of time to work through that. Don't worry about it. It's mainly a reaction paper. I don't intend on it being very hard. Probably the hardest thing for people will be getting the APA formatting correct, and we'll talk about that. And because you're learning APA, I tend to grade easily on the paper. I do give a lot of feedback. If you ask my former students what their papers look like when they get them back, I give a lot of feedback on it to help you out. And just because I give a lot of feedback doesn't mean I've been taking off points. So I hope that makes sense to you, right? So there are times I give feedback for something that I see, but I don't take off points for it. Other things I will. Now, if you do the paper and you don't even attempt APA, you're going to lose points because you're not following the instructions. So if you don't follow the instructions, you will lose points. But if you give it a really good attempt, and I can see you tried hard, even if you made some mistakes with APA or even some mistakes in your writing, that's okay because you're learning. And I tend to be kind of an easy grader on that. To help you out. Future professors will grade harder on it. So that's why I like to introduce this now, because if you continue on with psychology type classes or the social sciences, you're going to be required to use APA formatting, not MLA, not Chicago, not those other formatting things that you may have already learned, right? So APA is what we use in the social sciences. So I want people to learn that. All right. This is where you're going to find your study guides. Now I have them set up. I meant to have your exam already here too, but I didn't publish it yet. But here's what happens if you try to open it up. So I have it's available. You can see that I have it there, but the file is going to be locked until February 18th. Because I want you to focus on your homework and your other stuff right now. And then February 18th, you'll still have homework and stuff due, but you can start to look at what to expect on the exam as well. So just so that you know that, I just have some things that are locked. So that's where you'll find your exam study guides. This is where you will find your exams. And now let's look at Chapter 1, Intro to Psychology. And I'm going to talk about the book a little bit here at this point. Yeah, so, all right. So I always post the PowerPoint that goes along with the chapter. And that way, this is for students. Use it if you want. Don't use it. It doesn't matter to me. I post it there. Sometimes students like to print it out and take notes on it. So I provide it as a helpful tool, but you're not required to use it. It's just there for you. And then any homework assignments you'll see will be also in a particular chapter that we're in. And this, like I said, this week is Chapter 1. So you'll see that the homework student success survey is there. You'll see there's a discussion assignment that is due, and both of these are due this Saturday evening by 11:59 p.m. And then you'll see that homework 1 is going to be due February 12th, which is the following week. Yeah, so that's going to be due. And then the videos, somebody earlier asked me about the videos. Do we have to watch all of them? I will tell you, we are going to watch Derek Sievers. We are going to watch that in class. We are going to watch the marshmallow experiment in class. We may get to Kenneth and Mamie Clark, although there is some discussion about them, and there is an exam question on Kenneth and Mamie Clark. who were they? Um, and we will talk about I declare, why I major in psychology. And then there's a chapter summary. Okay, so that's basically how all the modules will be set up. You'll see in module 2, very similar, homework, your lectures. We will watch the Jeannie Wiley documentary. Very, very, very sad case. We will watch this video on the dangers of mixing causality and correlation. We will watch the DARE study, and we will watch the twin study. So in these particular cases, that earlier question, do I need to watch the videos? So far in chapters 1 and 2, yes, but for 2 reasons. One, chances are I'm going to be presenting them in class, and anything in class is fair game. And 2, because I already told you this may not be shown in class, but it's already fair game. So you're going to want to watch these videos. They tend to be short, 10, 15 minutes, the most. Excuse me, just one second. Also, just to let students know, so sometimes students get concerned. Sometimes I have these coughing attacks. I am okay. I am under a doctor's care. I will tell you that that I contracted COVID a year ago, had a very severe case, and then as a result of that, discovered that I had a pre-existing pulmonary condition with my lungs that made me more susceptible to the COVID, and then the COVID made it worse. So for the past year, I have been really dealing with some medical issues, but doing well. And the only reason why I tell you that is because, if you see me have to go off camera and cough or whatever, I'm doing okay. And the reason why I even say that now is because I have had every semester students reach out, Professor Grantstaff, are you okay? I noticed you weren't feeling well, or this was going on. And that just goes to show you how I have some really awesome students. So I just want you guys to know that. And enough of that. So let's go back and talk about the book. So the book is free to you. And the reason why I do the book free is because the last psychology book that I used for a couple of years, cost $150 new. And, and then they would change the edition, and then, and they would update things, which would make it harder for students. And I would always have to go to the next edition, and that just gets expensive for students. You guys have enough cost to bear. So I did some research on what's known as open education resources, and discovered OpenStax and this book. That's why I chose the book. Some students like to have a free copy. I mean, not a free copy, a printed copy of the book. So that is available, and it's very cheap considering the cost of books. Costs about $40, and you can order directly through the OpenStax website. It will take you to their official Amazon page. And I want to caution students to make sure you go through that process, because there are other copies you can get on Amazon that are of poor quality. They're just not good. So you want to make sure that you get the hardcover color copy if you decide to order the book. So I'm going to pause the recording here for a minute. Because I'm going to go back on camera, I'll show you the book, and then we're going to go on break. And then when we come back, I'm going to go through the book on the OpenStax website and show you how to order it for those that want to. So I'm going to pause the recording now. All right, very good. Welcome back from the break. And when we left off, we were talking about the textbook, and that it is free to read online through the OpenStax website, which I'm about to take you to kind of show you, and also how to order a print copy of the book if you would like a print copy. Some students really like that. I know I like both versions, and I'm about to show you why I like the electronic version. So we're going to go, so you'll see that I've broken down the chapter into its actual specific sections, right? So this is all of chapter 1, but it's broken down by its subsections within the chapter. So we're going to go to the introduction, and we're just going to start there. When you come into the OpenStax website, one of the things you'll get, and you'll see right now, it's telling me that there's an update. So you can update, you click that and you'll get the most recent version of the book. What is really nice about the electronic version of this book is, even though this is the second edition where there were some major changes that were done from the first edition to the second edition, is that when they do minor changes, those changes show right away in the electronic version. Sometimes it's just spelling stuff, or or they rephrase something a little bit better, minor stuff. But it's really cool because then they do the update. So I just hit update, and here's the most up-to-date version. Now you will notice up here, up in the upper right hand corner, it says, "Hi, Richard." It knows who I am. One of the things that I highly recommend if you're going to use the electronic version of OpenStax Psychology Second Edition, or 2E, is go ahead and create yourself an account. Now, you don't have to create an account. You can read the book without an account, right? You go to that website, you don't have an account, it's still going to let you read the book and you're going to be able to go through it. But what's cool when you have the account, is that as you're reading, you can go through and I don't have anything here. So here's the introduction page, but you can go through and you can highlight, you can create study guides. So here's an example of study guide that I have for myself. This is what I want you guys to learn. This is what I hit on throughout the chapter. These are the important topics that I kind of pull out that I really want to stress to you guys. And you'll also see, so you can create that study guide, you can print it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? So by signing up for an account, it lets you kind of do that. You can also highlight. So there's certain things that I highlight, and see right here, you're already getting answers. So I go through and I highlight the questions and answers that I want you guys to do in the homework. So a little cheating right here. So I'm going to close that real quick. So that could be a printout that you create of your specific highlights. And what's really nice is, as you're reading through the book, you can go and you can use this side and go to individual places, or you can go to the bottom and hit next. That will take you to the next page. It'll take keep going. As you read through, you go down. It's like, okay, I'm done with this, and go to the next page. These are this is a long page. Go to the next one, right? So you can navigate that way, or if you're like, what, I'm here, but I really want to go back to the introduction. What did it say there? You can bounce around that way. It's really user-friendly in that way. The other thing is you can create highlights. So you can take a section and you can use different color codes. You can make notes out to the side. So you can actually take your notes and do all this stuff. And this can be part of your study guide too. So again, I really recommend using this and creating a login, but you don't have to. If you don't create a login, then it won't allow you to do highlighting or do all the fancy stuff that I just showed you. It's less interactive. But all the other material that you'll need for reading is present and free to you. So I'm really impressed with OpenStax. I did research. I looked at a couple of different open education resource books, and in my opinion, I liked this the best, and I think you will too. So now, how do you order? We're going to go back down. So at the bottom of each page, and I went to the shortest page, because at the bottom of each page, it gives you an opportunity to order. So if you go down here and it says order a print copy, you just click on that, and it will take you directly to the Amazon site. And you'll see that it's hardcover. Now, the paperback, do not order paperback. Don't do it. It tends to be lesser quality. Yes, it's, you can rent it for cheaper, but the pictures, I believe, are black and white. And so you really want the color version. So that's what I highly recommend. And it's $38.50 plus shipping, or if you're an Amazon Prime member, you probably get it overnight. Oh yeah, free delivery overnight, 7 a.m. If you order today, you can have it delivered to you. So just to show you that again, it's at the bottom of every page, but I went to the introduction page because it's a short page and went right to the bottom, clicked order a print copy, and it takes you right to the official print version, hardcover, full color. So that's what you should order if you want the print version. Any questions? Let's see, there's chat. Yes, it is in stock. They generally do keep a pretty good stock of it. So now we're going to go back. So until you get that in, you still have access to the book. So you won't lose any time in reading or doing your homework because it is available to you. From the introduction, you can also, you see there's a menu here that matches the menu here. The other thing is there's review questions that you can answer. And what I do is a little closer to the time of the, excuse me, just one moment. When it comes closer to the time of the end, I generally open the answers up to the review questions. So you can kind of test yourself, right? These questions I don't specifically use in the exam or in the homework, but you will see very similar questions, right? So there are questions about the scientific method, right? And I'm going to want you to know what a hypothesis is and things like that. We'll talk about that as we go along. Then there's some personal application questions. Just, these are not required, but just for your own edification there. And then there's some critical thinking questions, and just some things to think about. But I don't really use these either. But I've had students, the reason why I started putting the answer to the review questions is because I found that students were actually doing these as practice, and then they wanted to know the answers to check themselves. So I started posting them. So you'll have that available this semester as well. So that is the book. Key terms. These are going to be major key terms that we'll be looking at in this chapter. And then also a chapter summary. uh, which I also publish in the modules as well. All right, so any questions on the textbook or signing up for an account? When you go to OpenStax, you can go to OpenStax main page, and when you're up here, you can, because I have an account already, but there'll be sign in or create account, something like that up here, and you'll be able to create an OpenStax account. Which in the future, if any of your other professors, like a sociology professor, may use OpenStax or physics, or there's lots of different lots of different subjects that they are doing. So, oh, here they are. So you can see all the different subjects that they do. And what's really nice is OpenStax does this for free. It's really, really good as far as helping students obtain free materials. And I generally like to do that. Unfortunately, with my AODS students, because I also teach in alcohol and other drug studies, which is really cool. I get to teach in the program that I graduated from. But unfortunately, none of those books are open resource. So they have to buy their books. So I always tell my AODS students, you want a free book, come to my psychology class, because psychology is required for them as well. All right, back to the modules. I'm going to go back to chapter 1 module. Let's see what else I want to talk about in here. We already talked about the videos. There's the chapter 1 summary. The answers for the review questions will show up at the bottom toward the end of this section, and you'll see that in each of the sections. So, and that is it there. Now, continuing on with our navigation of Canvas, I'm going to collapse all of these. The next menu item is assignments. So remember earlier I told you, you can go to your, if we're on the home page, you can go to your to-do list. You can select the calendar. You can select the syllabus and go all the way to the end. And also, you can go to the assignments tab, and that will list all the assignments that are going to be due this semester. Now, what's unfortunate with this particular tab, I'm just going to give you this warning, and I do not know why this happens, because I have played with this and played with this and played with this, and on this particular page, I cannot get it to be in perfect date order. So you'll see here that this assignment, which is due March 2nd, is showing up before this assignment, which is due February 28th. So which is due March 12th. So maybe that is right. Oh, maybe I did fix it. Aha! Let me tell you, this was a pain. February 5th, 5th, 12th, 19th, 19th, 26th, 11th, 12th. Ah, I did. 19th, 26th. Yes. So it does look like everything is in order here. But just to let you know, I was having a dickens of a time getting this to be in the right order. So hopefully it will remain in the order that it is. Here's the other thing. On this tab, it will also give you your grades. So when you complete this and your grade is officially posted, it will show you, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, whatever it is. So it will show you your grades as you've completed. And so you can track your progress this way as well, okay? Then there's also the discussion tab. This is where your discussion assignments are going to be. But before we go there, you'll notice that your discussion is also in in the upcoming assignments, right? So here's your discussion number 1, here's discussion number 2. No, I don't have the discussion 3 or 4 posted yet. All right, that'll get posted. It's a little bit later on in the semester. But you'll see that that's where the discussions are posted. But if you want to go just directly to the discussions, you can go here, and whatever discussions that are currently open will show up here. So you'll notice in the assignments thing, it showed 2 discussions. The second one is Sheldon shaping Penny from Big Bang Theory. It's not here yet because it's not open. So when it opens, it will appear here. The other thing that shows up here is quizzes. And your quizzes are going to be any assignment that I set up like a quiz. So all your homeworks are set up like quizzes, but remember they're open book, open note, and you can take them twice. The exams will show up here as well because they're all set up as quizzes. Hold on one moment. I apologize for that. For some reason, I'm having more coughing attacks this morning than normal. All right, and so there's your quizzes. So if you want to just go straight to whatever quizzes there are. So it's really student preference. All of these are available. And then finally would be your grades. And then this is your grade sheet. So as you complete, your grades will also show up here. And after after the score is posted, you can actually click on that and go back and review the items that were marked correct or marked incorrect. You can also use that as a study guide, right? So what I always recommend students doing, because I know your time is limited. I haven't read your student success surveys, but I will bet you I'm going to be reading a bunch of, I'm married with children, I work, and I go to school, right? That takes up a lot of your time. So if you check your homework and you're going, okay, I'm getting that concept right, I'm getting that concept right, I don't really need to study that. Just focus on what you're not getting right, right? And that will save you a little bit of time as well. So you can click on the scores and then review your answers, and it also lets you review any feedback that I've given in there as well. And then people, this just shows everybody that's in the class. And then you can, I believe from here, although I hardly ever do it this way, I think it lets you send an email. Maybe. No. I thought there was a way to do that. Okay. I usually just use email to contact students or send out announcements. So this is part that I am not that familiar with. But anyway, and then at the very bottom here is the San Diego City College library link. This is what you're going to use in order to do your research. The only articles I am going to permit you guys to use are articles that you find in our library database. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want you to get used to using our library database as well. There are tons and tons and tons of free articles and access to things that you students have access to, that if you looked it up on the internet and you find a good article and then they want you to pay $40 for the article, right? So please don't do Google Scholar. Not that I have anything against Google Scholar, it's awesome. But I want you to practice doing research through the library links, and I'm going to show you and teach you how to do that. And it's either going to be me or I may get the library to come in and do a presentation. It just depends on timing. So, but I really want you to use the library link. And when you do that, it's going to take you to the library, and then this is where you're going to be doing your searches using EBSCO articles. And it's going to have you sign in And oops. Oh yeah, I'm already there. So when you sign into this, you need to use your 10-digit school ID and then your last name as registered. So you'll notice here, I have a suffix after my name, right? I'm Richard L. Grandstaff II. And that's how I was registered as a student. And then when I was hired as a professor, they took my student information and just transferred it there. So it's the same for me here. And but if I don't put the second, then it's going to give me an error message. So however you are officially registered is how you need to do this. So obviously, I did something wrong there. So if you get this error message, I often get it right off the bat too sometimes, and I'm not sure why, because then I put in the same number and then it works. Don't save. And then here's where I can choose my databases. Generally, I select all, then I deselect all, because I really only want one right now, which is Psychology and Behavioral Sciences collection, which is right here. Hit OK. And then I can search for an article, let's say on motivational interviewing. Oh, and don't laugh at my typing. I'm terrible. And I'm going to select that and hit search. And there is going to pull up all of these different articles, and even shows you some video results. But this is where I'm going to want you to go to do your paper based on one of these, on an article of your choice. I just chose motivational interviewing. It could be anything in the book. Anything in psychology is fair game. So, and we'll talk about that in more detail later on. Any questions? And I'm going to go back up to the home link. And this is where we start off. Every time you log in, this is where you'll go. And I see a chat. Let's see here. No questions. Excellent, 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 excellent. All right. Well, that concludes this part of the lecture. So I'm going to stop the recording. And what will happen is later on tonight, I'll process this, upload it to YouTube, and I will put a link in the chapter 1 module. So you guys will have access to it in case anybody was having internet connectivity issues or just wants to review it later. So.